Welcome everybody, it's Unstoppable Steletsy with another Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition casted match for you today. So this one is actually a really important one from It's Me Nick from Discord, or his name here in AoE 3 would be Nick. It's so important in fact that Revnak actually created a private sort of group to tell me to do it, so I was like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to do this one, yeah. But either way, let's see what the map is all about, and let's get started after that. So the map here appears to be Mongolia. Yep, Mongolia is a very nice map indeed. It basically is a very wide open map that allows a lot of advantages in terms of rating your opponents pretty much, so that should be pretty interesting here. But either way, let's get started and see what happens, alright? Okay, so here we are at the start, and we're going to see Portugal versus Portugal. It's a Portuguese Mirror. A Portuguese Mirror sounds like a pretty painful situation, right? A lot of turtling, a lot of booming, you name it. So, I don't know what these guys have in mind for us, but I'm sure it's going to be pretty intense, you know? It's pretty rare, actually. I rarely ever see, like, Portugal take on Portugal directly, so, yeah, I'm totally interested in seeing what they come up with. It looks like Nick is going to get his hunting dogs early, it looks like. Notice how he's macroing onto the coin. How he's trying to get enough resources to get that early hunting dogs out pretty quickly. It's pretty beneficial to get hunting dogs sooner rather than later because it gives you a better hunting rate by about, I believe, 10%. So it actually ends up really helping you to get lots of musketeers, hussars, and other units early on as the Portuguese. So that's good. Is Red is not doing the same thing. It looks like Palico is not getting the market and will just go with the standard hunting rate, it looks like. Which is totally fine. It's totally okay to do that. It's really up to every player individually what they need and what they're doing for their build order, right? I would say personally, try to go for that hunting dog sooner rather than later. Because, of course, again, it's going to help you with your more expensive food units like the muskets and the hussars, so you definitely want to have it in your back pocket. So, yeah, looks like Nick is actually going to get that hunting dogs right now, actually, so that's going to benefit his eco right away. One thing we do notice, though, that's a bit different, Perico actually went with the trading posts up here. That's why he was chopping wood down there before, so he's taking a bit of a different take on this, but we'll see what happens in the end with that. So, what deck are we looking at here? It looks like Red Portugal will begin Federias here. This will essentially give the town center a little bit of a trickle of all resources. So, your food, your wood, and your coin. Basically making them into little mini factories almost, you know? Like super mini factories. And I'm presuming that's the same thing that Nick's going to get. No, actually. He actually starts with the economic theory first. Economic Theory is a very versatile eco upgrade card because it improves all your gather rates by 10% on literally everything for not only the settlers but also the fishing boats too, so it even helps you on water. In this case, it'll basically ensure that no matter what Nick is doing, his villas are going to do better at it, whether it's chopping wood, mining, hunting, you name it. It's going to just be an overall good boon throughout the match, you know? So that's good. That's definitely going to be beneficial to him. And then after that, I'm presuming he's probably going to go for Federias as well. Or he could save up for a shipment in Age 2, perhaps. Maybe get some of the Drabants. Or perhaps get some of the hand cannoneers here, perhaps. Something interesting. I'm sure they're cooking up something very spicy for us today in the kitchen. But we'll see. Going for the gang saw at the market now. So making even more good application of this market early in the game. I like it. You know, this is going to ensure that Portugal has a healthy amount of houses. If they're going to go pike and shot, they'll have the wood for that. So yeah, definitely a very good setup overall, I would say. What's the politician going to be? It's going to be the core master for 400 wood. I would expect the same for the other Portugal too. No, they're going for the naturalists. Quite a different approach there, honestly. Oh yeah, big time. Going to be bringing in some herdables with that, so a little bit of extra food to work with. Now, one thing I think that Red Portugal is going to do is he's going to get a livestock pen because we see how many X? 6 Yakety Yaks, don't yak backs here, and probably going to have the herdables from the naturalists as well. So that's going to be a pretty big stack of food basically, which should be pretty helpful. Now after that we're going to see sort of whether the early hunting dogs type economy pays off or the early trading post one does. So that'll be a very interesting sight to say the very least. Looks like there's a bit of a fight going on here. We see the blue Portugal Nick actually starting to slice and dice into the settler. Also the Mongol scout trying to eat away at its HP as well. Every now and then you do see explorers snipe villagers, especially if someone's not paying attention or, you know, in a very inopportune spot. Now the most important part of a Portugal Mirror is where did they put the town centers, right? Yeah, it's pretty much Portugal's most infamous bonus is getting a free covered wagon with each age up, right? And even once you hit that 3 town center build limit threshold, it doesn't matter because once you hit the 4th age, then your build limit of TCs goes up to like 4. So I mean, yeah, it's like town centers, and more town centers. Which means 2 things for you. It means turtling, because obviously they'll protect your vills, and then once the vills go inside, they shoot at the enemies. So it basically takes a whole bunch of land from your enemy and what they can actually go towards for resources, right, as well as attacking-wise. And then on top of that, it's a booming mechanism because, of course, town centers train villagers, and the more town centers you got, the more villagers you can get concurrently, meaning multiple queues running at the same time. So we're going to see a lot of potential booming here between both players. That being said, though, we do see some aggro. We do see some pikeman aggro from Nick. Looks like we got double Barracks pikeman. He's going for an all-out attack here. Once you see double Barracks pikeman from any civ in general, never mind the Portuguese, you know they're going for an all-out rush of some kind here. Now, what does he do to back this up, perhaps? Well, I would probably ship in muskets, crossbows, probably the cannoneers. You're going to need some range support to actually protect all those pikards, pretty much. Yeah, and the main point of the pikards, of course, is going to be the siege, right? If we look at a pikeman's stats here, they have a siege of about 32. And this town center here has a HP of about 6.5k. The pikemen individually are not going to make much of a dent, but once you get a big stack of pikemen like this, the TC does not last very long, and you can already see here this TC is already getting wiped out, and there's not much that the Red Portugal can do, actually, so they're going to have to come up with a solution to that. Their solution is to go for a fast fortress using the marksman. Now, this is a common method we see of Portugal players to basically set up an age 3. They will age up with the marksmen, so as soon as they reach the age up, they get some free cazadores. And those cazadores will actually be strong enough to actually shoot away all these pikemen. So that's really the only thing that can save this Red Portugal is literally reaching the age up again, those cazadores, in order to basically spray down all the pikes. Yep. And notice how the pikemen are backing up right now. It's almost as if he knows he's going for a fast fortress. He has that intuition based on the lack of army to know that he's going for a fast fortress. In general, in Age of Empires 3, if you don't see a lot of army in the early game and when you're attacking somebody, that generally means they're going for a fast fortress of some kind. They're going for Age 3. And that's kind of dangerous because that means they're going for the power units like the falconets, the skirms, the dragoons, to try to beat you with a stronger army, perhaps. So you either need to rush faster and beat them to the punch, or you need to sort of know when to pull back and sort of prepare your defenses, because now this blue Portugal is going to have to deal with cazadores right here, units with multipliers of about 2x against heavy infantry shooting at them, right? So in essence, these cazadores are doing about 36 range damage to these pikemen, which is a lot of damage, you know, that's nothing to laugh at, right? And it looks like indeed he's gonna be, well, is he getting a production yet? It looks like he's not getting a production yet in terms of military. I don't see a barracks at all. Now what he does do, he does ship the 3 organ guns card, and that's very powerful because those are essentially your anti-infantry artillery that the Portuguese use, so those will be really good synergy with the cazadores there. The only way you'd really be able to beat that is as if the Nick ended up going for Hussar of some kind to sort of back up the pikemen. Definitely in my older days of Wars of Liberty when I played the French, I had this infatuation with going Hussar Pikemen, and that looks like what we might see here. Look at the stable going down. We see a stable right in the spot combined with Pikards. The Pikards sort of beat the cavalry easily, but they also siege well, and then the Hussars basically deal with everything that the Pikards can, mainly the skirmishers, grenadiers, artillery, that sort of thing. The only sort of wishy-washy thing that you have to deal with is the threat of the heavy infantry class, so things like halberdiers and muskets. But as long as you plan it well and you aggro very effectively, you can keep their musket numbers pretty low to the point that it's going to be doable, right? Yeah. Now, interesting thing, now we finally see placer mines from the Portugal here, Nick, because he knows he's going to need that coin to actually make Hussars here, potentially, right? Looks like the Portugal will actually start with the stable here. Starting with the stable, we'll likely do, I believe, Dragoons, right? That's sort of the wombo combo of every Portugal player is Cazador, Dragoon, with a few organ guns. Like, you combine all three of those things and you got something really good going in the mid to late game. So yeah, we're probably going to see a lot of Dragoons there. Particularly as a counter to the Hussars, but they can also counter the Pikemen too, to an extent. As long as the Light Cav has a place to go to, a place to kite, they can beat the Pikemen, you know? Obviously, the more Pikemen there are, and how good the player's economy is, and how much they can resupply, it is somewhat impossible to just beat out Pikemen with Dragoons, but if their economy's not that great, if the armies are not too big, you can probably just spray them down with the Light Cav, which you might have to do to preserve your TCs here. Because here's the thing, even though he's going for a fast fortress, and should have had 3 town centers as Portugal because of the 2 free covered wagons they would have amassed at that point, plus the frontal town center, and now you're sort of on par with his economy in a way, you know what I mean? But that could have been on purpose too, because he knew that potentially Nick was coming, and he thought, you know, if I put a TC in the front, he's going to eat this thing like it's a lollipop at that point, like a honeypot, and then my TC in the back is going to be fine. So I think that's what he was probably going for there. And in fact, it looks like the Red Portugal is actually going to ship in Dragoons too, not just train them. Also going for steel traps on his end, so he's keeping up with the market techs as well, which I think is very clever. To boot, Nick is also getting steel traps, so he's going to need a lot of food here, right? Because one thing that we see now is a transition to musketeers. Musketeers, obviously more Hussars are going to be added in, so a little bit of everything in Age 2. You know, we see crossbows, pikes, Hussars, muskets, so really all 4 of the main Portugal Age 2 units. Now, how effective that's going to be, we're going to have to see, since it looks like Red Portugal, of course, doing organ guns, dragoons, cazadores, all the elite troops of Portugal's army, pretty much. Whereas Nick's army, Nick's army is essentially the earlier game stuff. Okay, so coming from the north, that's a pretty smart idea because he knew the terrain of his opponent's base, and that's essentially going to allow Nick to siege down some houses and maybe house his opponent so he can't make much other troops. But yeah, it looks like cazadores and organ guns hanging out around the TC. Dragoons were branching off probably to do some raiding, but unfortunately it's making the cazadores take a little bit more heated abuse than I think they wanted to, probably. So yeah, can the organ guns beat these pikards? I believe so, and I think the dragoons should clean up the rest of the husares. Well, 2 organ guns survive, right? So it's pretty much a pretty successful defense of the artillery, I think. I think once Red Portugal loses his artillery, then things are going to get a little bit interesting, you know? It's really those artillery that sprays down whole formations of infantry with relative ease. So that's why I'm mentioning that. Yeah, we haven't seen any of our power shipments as well, the Canadiers or the Weden allies, so that's something we could totally see as well, potentially. Oh yeah, big time. Absolutely. What's going on over here? Oh, going for Dragoon raids. Very interesting. So, the good news is in Age of Empires 3, Light cavalry usually has a malice against villagers to not make them too OP with the kiting, but you still have to worry about it, you know what I mean? Obviously, if you have a pretty big mass of dragoons, it's not going to matter that you have a malice against the villager tag. You're still going to sort of just raid them. And that's what we see the Red Portugal doing, trying to just go for general raiding all over the place with his dragoons. Because he knows his dragoons, once the muskets get involved, can actually pull out and retreat from them, you know? Not that time, though, because his pathing sword just messed up there and he went right into the path of the muskets, which is not good, you know what I mean? I want to try to avoid that if possible. That being said, more Portuguese hussars from Nick are trying to pressure the base over there. Actually takes out the organ guns and will start to slice into vills. Nope, looks like they garrison. Looks like they garrison there. And basically just trying to claw his way back here and use what dragoons he has to deal with the hussars first. And potentially micro down those muskets too. Would definitely help if he had the ranged cavalry cackerel arsenal technology there, because that actually increases the range on the dragoons. And that would allow the Red Portugal to sort of use his range to, you know, keep an edge over the muskets and be able to do stuff about it, right? So yeah, definitely. Oh, nice. Looks like Red Portugal's putting down a fort here. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. You know why? Because what it's going to do is it's going to protect your northern flank near the trade route and essentially allow you to get more map control over this hunts, over these mines. In fact, look at what's going on over here. Surprise, surprise. We see blue Portugal with settlers there. And guess what's going to shoot at them? The fort. Now, I think personally Red Portugal should have just waited for the fort to go down and then started bringing in the dragoons. That way you have the additional cannon attack from the fort eating away at their HP, which I think would have been a smart thing to do. You know what I mean? That's just me. Looks like maybe Nick will age up. Yep, he will age up with the Ethiopian Queen. Not a bad choice. The Ethiopian Queen actually gives you some Shotel warriors, essentially coyote runners with some multipliers against skirms. So that'll be really good against any like artillery or cazadores that the Red Portugal does, basically. So yeah, we'll have to see how that ends up affecting the battle. Ooh, going for Dragoon combat. Now that's a very interesting choice. So basically with that, it's going to give these Dragoons 20% additional stats on both the HP and the attack fronts. So don't be surprised if he just sticks with Dragoons as his main unit this game. You know what I mean? The only sort of thing that could force him onto his heels doing that would be like Cazador transition or something like that. Yeah. Let's get all those settlers into this TC there. Yeah. How many Dragoons is he on now, by the way? He's on about 14. 14. And what about Blue Portugal, Nick? It's got double barracks here from earlier and then has a stable still. So it's just mixing in muskets with hussars. Also shipped in the cannoneers. Now the cannoneers are essentially abyss gunners, so they have crush damage and multipliers against light cav and heavy infantry. So in general, I believe these cannoneers will be a great asset against Red Portugal's Dragoon usage. Could actually tip the scales quite a bit. That being said, though, we do see Red Portugal Dragoons like running out onto the map, seeing what they might be able to disrupt. Right now, they're just targeting down the Explorer, it looks like. And do we see the Dragoons actually take out any houses or anything? Because there are some houses over here that Portugal stuck up. Not just Portugal, Nick put up there. Oh man, what's going on? What's going on? We see muskets, cannoneers, all converging here. We see the Shotel warriors and the hussars also looking around the north side here to lop off villagers that they find. This is looking to be a big push. Big push. Do the muskets have veteran yet? Yes, they do. They have veteran stats, so these muskets are going to be even more effective, you know what I mean? Slightly more siege, more attack, more HP. It's just going to be a great mix-in unit to basically knock out these Red Portugal town centers. Yeah. Yeah, you can see Red Portugal really struggling up here with his dragoons, essentially trying to kite down all those hussars, basically. I think he'll get that group, the one with the Chotel Warriors, but we'll see again if can turn the tide. Yeah. Oh man, what do we got here? We got halberdiers. Halberdiers? I don't think halberdiers it's time for the halberdiers yet. Mainly because, you know, you're not seeing the majority of like a heavy cavalry type army just yet. You know, the only time I would say, yeah, go with lots of halberdiers in this type of 1v1 situation is if you know they're just going to spam a bunch of cavalry on you and you need like some ample protection. I did say in the past that AoE 3 halberdiers can actually do other roles like fighting infantry, fighting artillery. But that isn't always ideal, so you just sort of need to know how to plan things. Looks like, in fact, the first one to reach age 3 is actually going to be the first one to get defeated. At least from what it looks like, right? Got the organ guns here, the leash muskets, oh yeah. GG. Indeed, that was a great game. I definitely liked that one. What I liked about Nick there was he was always putting the pressure on his opponent, going for things like pikemen and hussars and stuff, and it was just really powerful. Yeah, definitely. So, thank you, Nick, for providing me that recording, and thank you for Revnak for setting up that group to organize, you know, me downloading and everything. That was super thoughtful, but, yeah. Either way, I'm signing off now from this one, so see you on the next one. Yep. There is a next one. There always is.